What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA show. We are breaking down tonight's 9-game NBA slate on DraftKings, 11 on the site we shall not name. So we got tons of NBA games to talk about. We got football on as well, so it's going to be a very busy night. AP, I'll go to you first. How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's going really well. Fun weekend. Shout out to Bryce, third and Schlong. Massive win. 300K solo shipper. I mean, that's super impressive. And the fade that he had was crazy. I was watching that. I mean, he had a fade, a field goal there at the end. I mean, how that would have been so brutal. Shout out to him. Just absolutely awesome stuff all around. So I got another 300K up top in the NFL streets and got a really nice NBA slate as well.
Yep. Nice NBA slate, nice NFL slate tonight, so it should be a good time. And I don't know, maybe it's nice, DC. It's Steelers and Giants, so obviously we're not here to talk NFL, but not the greatest game. But hey, it's football. We're not going to complain. You know, I don't want to be watching baseball in June. I'm happy with Steelers Giants, so I won't complain. DC, how about you?
Well, speaking of baseball, it's the World Series Game 3 tonight, man. Young. So
That's true.
plenty of options for sports viewers. Nice NBA slate, like you said, 9 games. Monday Night Football, World Series Game 3. Kind of I don't know if sneaky is the right word, but a fun night of sports. I bet at least among the 3 options, we'll get some good sweats. I'll be in on a couple of these early games for basketball, I think most likely. So we'll find out early if I've got a chance there. And then, if not, we'll move to football. And then you can go flip over to the World Series if that doesn't go your way. So excited for the sports tonight, and breaking down NBA with you two guys, getting in the swing of it a little bit with NBA right now, and long season ahead. But yeah, hopefully lots of big prizes to be won.
Yeah, a lot going on, a lot of different prizes to take down. But we're talking NBA, and we will break down the slate. We will go position by position. I think that's what we did on the last show. Why not go position by position to kind of kick it off and talk about it all? And again,
you don't want to go game by game?
We can go game by game. I don't care.
I mean, whatever you guys want. I just like it because I think there's a few interesting games and there's a few clear fade games.
Hey, actually, that might not be a bad way to go today. So let's go game by game. We did position by position last time. We'll do game by game this time. So let's kick it off with Indiana, Orlando, and we can. I mean, I think we can go past this one pretty quick. Like, I don't need any of the Indiana, quote unquote studs. And Orlando, like, sure, Banchero's been playing great, and the matchup against Indiana makes sense, but I'm not super excited about this game. AP, why don't you talk about this one?
Yeah, I'm making this. I'm giving myself 30 extra minutes on the slate. I'm not playing anyone from this game. Not going to fall into the Wendell Carter trap. There's better plays. I mean, we got Clint Capella. I mean, the Hawks game is going to be obviously really interesting. Not going to chase Jalen Suggs. Orlando they can run such a wide rotation. I mean, I guess it would change if Franz Wagner got ruled out, but we'll wait and see. And then the Pacers, I mean, man, they're not playing with pace like they used to last year. Halliburton's been terrible. They got to show me something before I can play them. And I'm rarely ever playing someone against the Magic. So easy fade for me.
All right, DC. I'm not seeing any real Magic or Pacers must plays, but sure, maybe one of them could make it on the winner. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, of course, wouldn't be surprised to see 1 or 2 decent plays from this game, but 9 games to choose from. And, obviously with late swap and potential news developing, you never know what's going to pop up, especially in the NBA. This will be a common theme, I'm sure, for me and on the show, but not going to try to lock any, borderline pieces, right, from that early game. I think you wait, you see kind of what materializes at 7:30 Eastern time and as the night goes on. So listen, if it's an awesome game first, I don't have a problem going to it, but for a very, just nothing of great value, at least on paper, from Indiana or Orlando, to me, no reason to really play much from it. So I'll be, barring further development, not playing anybody from Indiana and Orlando.
Yeah, I will say there is the one guy I did not mention that I think needs to is Wendell Carter Jr. To be fair, I do think he's not a bad play for sure at the center position. I forgot about him as an option. He's definitely one that I would be considering. When I ran some FanDuel stuff, not a lot of these guys popped up. I think Franz Wagner, like Andrew Nembhard jumped up, but these guys aren't really that necessary. And again, I want to keep it short and sweet with this game. I don't want to dive too deep into it. Let's shift on over to the next game, and we'll talk about this one first. There are how many? 2, 4. There's 5 games that lock at 7:30, right? But this is the game to talk about, right? It's Atlanta and it's Washington. We got tons of different news pieces flying there. Dyson Daniels was a good value at the time. It seems like Larry Nance is the value of the day to discuss. Of course, you have Trae Young you could spend up for. If there was a matchup that Jordan Poole would go off, you could argue this is a great spot for him to go off. Same with someone like Kyle Kuzma. So, AP, I'll go over to you first. You are, I feel like you are the leader of the Jordan Poole fan club. If I had to pick one, you would be the guy.
When did this even start? Just last season when he was like 5K and I kept playing him like in every. He was like 5,500.
Yeah,
couldn't get away from it. I could not get away from it.
I'm just saying, like, if we had to pick a fan at Run Pure, it's you. You're the guy. So
I mean, can I say, like, if I'm being honest, from a real basketball standpoint, I hate his game. The reason I love his game is because he shoots, he fires. He hasn't been firing as much this year, but he plays no defense. So it's usually like a win-win on each side.
Correct. But, dive in and talk about these Atlanta values. Obviously, that's like the biggest piece to talk about. And then, of course, Washington runbacks, right? Do we play them? Do we not? It's definitely something that needs to be discussed. So break this game down for us. Yeah,
the Atlanta side is going to be really interesting. We know the Wizards, they like to play with pace. They don't play a lot of defense. We've already seen that so far, and obviously the season just got started. The Atlanta side is going to be the more interesting one naturally because we have multiple key guys out. Okongwu's out, and DeAndre Hunter was just ruled out right before we started the show, actually. So we should see a condensed starting rotation. I think number 1 overall pick, Zachary Risachet, should get the start again. He started yesterday. The game got out of hand, and they really managed the minutes against OKC down the stretch, pulling all of those starters. But it was Trae Young, Risachet, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson that got the bulk of the run, with Okongwu leading the way off the bench. So, like, naturally, the Hawks want to win. They have the best matchup in the world against the Wizards, and a team that we can just absolutely stream multiple players against. So, like, my question is how many Hawks are too many? And that's going to be something that I'm battling because I like all of these guys. Trae Young looks incredible. No DeJounte Murray has just increased his usage rate. We've seen assists go up. Raw scoring has gone up. So, like, he's an absolute stud that we want to look at. The guy that I think it might be the most interesting is Jalen Johnson. He's really struggled to start the season. This is just such a get-right spot. I mean, OKC, an absolute beast right now. I wanted to play Jalen Johnson against Charlotte, which was another really, really good matchup. He was 4 for 15, but he still put up 37 fantasy points. If he had like an average shooting day at all, I mean, he's absolutely crushing. So in tournaments, the piece that I think is most interesting is Jalen Johnson. But really, I'm asking myself, how many is too many? And then we have Larry Nance, who's a flat 3K. And if you want the studs tonight, they got to use Larry Nance, you'd think, unless we're going to see like a 6-7 man rotation, which is highly unlikely. At 3K, he allows you to get all the studs. So I have a ton of interest, obviously, in Luka and Jokic tonight. So Larry Nance is really, really intriguing.
Yeah, Larry Nance is definitely the big value that we just talked about. Of course, AP mentioned how, hey, we do have Jalen Johnson. That's an intriguing tournament play that you could obviously get to. And the DeAndre Hunter stuff, it's definitely not nothing. I'm not saying it's a priority to play, him, or play Jalen Johnson there, but it's going to help just secure his minutes up. It's going to secure a lot of those guys' minutes, right? It could help out Nance. Obviously, Nance and Capella, they're not going to cross, pass on the court too much. So there's a lot to discuss there with that, DC. So how do you handle Nance and the Capella stuff? Because I think either of those guys can have huge ceiling games. And then there's pretty good plays on Washington side that will be a little bit lower owned.
Yeah, I mean, this game looks crazy good for value. If we just go by what Sabres got up right now, if you sort by the value column, 5 of the top 7 value plays on the slate are Atlanta Hawks. They've got it ranked Capella, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Risachet. They've got Roddy as a top value. And you don't have to scroll too much further to get to Jalen Johnson and Larry Nance. So essentially the entire Hawks rotation at least Saber, and I agree with the projections here, has these guys all as being good plays. Makes sense. They're at home. They got pretty much the best possible matchup against the Wizards. They're super shorthanded. AP mentioned missing Hunter, missing Okongwu. They also lost Bogdanovic playing, a 30-minute guy off the bench. They lost him, I think, after the first game. And then Sadiq Bey, another big rotation piece long-term for the Hawks, also out right now. So, yeah, all these Atlanta Hawks look good to me. The game stack, I mean, you mentioned the values on the Atlanta side. At least in theory, Washington has good values too. Kuzma right up there. I mean, Poole makes me nervous, but I like him. Carrington, and then Koulibaly, I think are all decent values. Throw in a little narrative street here if you want to do it too, right? Risa Shea, the number 1 pick, going up against Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick. Both guys from France. I think they've played together before. They're both in the starting lineup, it looks like right now. I mean, start adding up the pieces, and of course, you never know what's going to happen in the NBA, but this game could easily be in the 120s, a close game. All these guys are going to get minutes because it's, especially on the Hawks side, very condensed rotation. And then, yeah, I think the Washington side is fun too. I mean, even Alex Sarr himself, he's going to have no ownership. He's 5,400. He's shooting threes, can get involved defensively. There are a ton of different ways to stack this game, and it's going to be, frankly, mostly what I do with my lineups. The one guy that I think I'm comfortable fading is actually the highest projected value on the slate, Clint Capella. I just think the Hawks are going to go away from him in general as he kind of ages out. We talked about it last show with the Okongwu, who has been stealing his minutes, and third game in 4 nights. I just wouldn't be surprised if we saw Capella play 18 or 20 minutes and Nance get in there and steal more of that rotation. So I love this game. The one shift I'm making is getting Capella out of there for Nance. I think this game could go small, play fast on both sides. Just an awesome game here. Game stack the Atlanta-Charlotte game. I think that was on Friday. Almost ended up getting to the top of tournaments. No overtime or anything in that game. So this one obviously reminds me a ton of that. Even more guys out for Atlanta than there were in that game, and I'll be going right back to it.
Yeah, I mean, this game definitely could go small. Like, I don't know if it'll go as small as Kyle Kuzma and Jalen Johnson playing the 5 together, but I think
Sarr can play the 4-5 too, so they can, like, and then you go Jalen Johnson on the other side. Like, there's a lot of ways this game could go. I mean, yeah, it looks like an awesome game to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a good game, and of course, if it stays close, it's going to absolutely nuke. So it's definitely a game that we want to be looking at, one that we want to be getting exposure to fantasy-wise. Let's go to the next one, Denver and Toronto. And I mean, Denver has not been good defensively. They're not that great offensively either. It's really just Jokic carrying the team right now. You get Jamal Murray and him playing in Canada narrative. So do you want that information? The price is cheap on him. He's like 7.1K. And honestly, shooting guard doesn't seem great on this slate. So I do think that's definitely a play that we got to be looking at in Jamal Murray. Jokic, really good spend up. We talked about having a ton of value with this game that we just discussed. So AP, I'll shift over to you. Toronto is clearly a team that I don't think we're going to play that much guys from, but the studs on Denver have to be in play. So how are you ranking those two? And then how are you handling this game?
Yeah, so this is so the Nuggets, they start a 3-game road trip after losing 2 to start the season at home. And it's, two easy bets for me because I've been betting again. Actually, I got the Raptors +9 again tonight. I think that like a lot of it has to do with, Jokic has no help. Westbrook is just terrible. The rest of their guys are so young. They have no scoring when Jokic is out of the game. And then MPJ and Jamal Murray they've been off to start the season. It's basically been the Jokic show. But however, this is like the absolute get right spot. The Raptors, not a good team at all right now. Nuggets should get the win. I think it stays close. And I think I think they win 2 of 3 on this road trip. And this is one of the games that they have to get. So I think it's a smash spot for Jokic. He has some really big performances against Jakob Poeltl. I think Michael Porter Jr. at 5,800 is an absolute smash play. Like, when you look at what he's doing, so one thing, he's getting more rebounds right now. He's crashing boards. He's been atrocious shooting the basketball, but he's still getting you 31, 20 fantasy points. An average shooting night from MPJ, I mean, is easily hitting value. Like, I'm going to play a guy like MPJ 9 out of 10 times then I'm going to play like Jeremy Shohan from the Spurs, just because I don't trust Pop. And Shohan's going to get a ton of ownership too. So give me MPJ, give me Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray has a tougher matchup. Davion Mitchell. I think Murray's a little too cheap. Davion, I mean, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it individually. Like, if I had to rank the guys on the Nuggets side, it would be MPJ 1, Jokic, then Murray is kind of how I'm playing them. And I'm not going to get to Christian Brown. Most likely not going to get to Aaron Gordon. A lot of that has to do with the game that we previously talked about. Just better values, better plays in that range. I want the studs in this game, and mainly Jokic, and then in the mid-range, MPJ. Should we just let him keep going?
Mm-hmm.
I got too many things on my screens and everything.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
It's annoying because I'm using my Mac. I'm using my MacBook to like cast like the StreamYard, and then I use my other two monitors to do stuff, and I can't mute with my actual mouse. I have to do it with the touchpad.
You're too busy looking at the likes on your newfound, Twitter viral account over there to pay attention to what AP's saying.
I wish that was the case. I wish I was going viral like that, but not exactly. But all righty. Okay, let's get back to you, DC. Let's talk about the Raptors and the Nuggets. I know you liked the last game. You're talking about game stacking up the last game, so I don't know if you have the ability to get exposure to this one, but let me know what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously on game stacked, you're pretty filled up already, but I agree with most of what AP said. I do think the Denver guys, Jokic, Porter, Jamal Murray, I think Aaron Gordon is in play. All those guys look like pretty solid plays to me. None of them necessarily stand out as, values that I need to get into my lineup. But yeah, certainly, as final pieces, Denver, one of the teams on my short list. And then Toronto gets back RJ Barrett here, right? So that'll change things a little bit up for them. Obviously some, playmaking to go around with Emmanuel quickly still out. So Scotty Barnes, probably my favorite, but man, 9,100 for Barnes feels about, even with quickly out, that feels about as high as we're going to see Scotty Barnes go. So not sure I want to buy super high on Barnes. I do think like his upside quite a bit. But yeah, in terms of a stud spend up, hard to go wrong with the Joker here. I mean, 0-2, right? You got to think Denver gets it going. Obviously, Jokic going to lead the way there. So love that spend up if you've got the money to do it, which seems like there's some pretty good values tonight. So I do think you can get to a guy like Joker if you want to.
Yeah, it's easy to get up to him if you want to, but you do have to debate, hey, the value at center, right? And what do you want to do with Larry Nance? Do you want to put him at power forward, center? Where do you want to put him on your teams? I think that's going to be a big debate for people for sure. All right, Bucks, Celtics. Giannis, I assume he's playing. That's my assumption. So I don't think he has like the for sure in tag yet, but hey, we're going to think that he is in while we talk about this game. And Giannis is not going to be a stud that people spend on today. So I think he gets a little contrarian in a matchup against, the world champs, which, hey, any team like the Bucks or, wants to show up against this world champs team. Of course, the Knicks wanted to and they couldn't do it, but Bucks will definitely be trying their best, I'm sure. Giannis is 10-9, though. AP, is he a spend that we can get to, or would you rather just keep going with Jason Tatum, who's clearly on a revenge tour against every team in the NBA right now?
Yeah, I don't have a lot from this game. I think Jaylen Brown's the most interesting because of his position flexibility, shooting guard, small forward, 8,300 price tag. A lot of mouths to feed on the Celtics, and man, they're good. I honestly think they just kind of destroy the Bucks right now. I don't like what I've seen from Milwaukee. Dame has been terrible. People, these teams are adjusting to Giannis. They know how to defend him. I really don't like what I've seen. I mean, losing to the Nets, Bulls. I mean, that Bulls game, Like, they absolutely destroyed them. And, I mean, Chicago is just running up and down the court. They let Kobe White drop like a 40-piece on them. So, like, when you think about how Boston plays, I don't think the Bucks right now have the firepower to keep with Boston. Now, again, I say that, and what happens? The Celtics come out and they have a bad shooting night. That's how naturally the Bucks are going to beat them. So could it happen? Yeah, it could definitely happen. I just don't see it happening right now with how the Celtics are playing, and especially like if they get back Sam Hauser. I don't know if he's been ruled out yet or not, but just additional firepower off the bench. So for me, it's one of, Jaylen Brown, Tatum. White's tougher because there's so many better plays, I think, in that range. And I can't get to Giannis. I want Jokic. I want Luka in just better matchups. Even Trae Young, I want over Giannis on the slate as far as spend-ups go.
Listen, the Bucks, you know what they are, AP? They're kind of like the Jets. You know what I mean? They made some trades. They didn't work out. They fired their coach. That was the problem. Some of these just teams, they're not the same anymore. And this Bucks team, Giannis is walking. I'm sorry. I told this to people many times. Giannis is not staying in Milwaukee. He's going to be sick of their shit. When you look at the contracts they have with Brook Lopez and all these guys, it's just they're bad contracts. So, DC, I think the Celtics will just beat the Bucks up pretty good. I don't really want to play many Bucks in DFS. If you want to take the chance on Giannis as a spend, listen, I get it. But I think I'd rather get to Tatum, who's clearly playing amazing basketball right now. He's 1.2K difference. So if I do pay up for someone, I'd rather pay for Tatum than Giannis.
Yeah, I mean, Celtics obviously, won the title, and man, they coming in hot, right? Maybe it's the Tatum Olympic stuff. I'm not sure, but like they're healthy outside of Porzingis. They're playing well. They're fantastic defensively. I mean, if you look at nobody is playing players from the Bucks other than Giannis, who he is projected to be under 10% owned. So I'm not playing anybody from the Bucks. It would be Giannis that, as a contrarian spend up. I think that's reasonable. Won't be what I end up in for all the reasons AP says. There's just other spend ups. Pretty much all of them I like better than Giannis. So not going to get there. Slightly prefer Tatum. If you are dead set on going to this game, I don't think playing Tatum and Giannis together is crazy. Get them both low owned. Obviously, you're hoping for a close game in that scenario, and this game will be really overlooked in general, so you'll be super unique that way. But if you're playing, 1, 3, 5 lineups, I really don't see a lot of reason to get to this game. So won't be going to this game myself.
All right. DC's not going to this game. Let's keep moving on. Let's go to Knicks and Cavs. And there's definitely plays in this game to discuss. More on the Knicks side. Of course, we have Tom Thibodeau. We know Thibs. He plays his guys minutes. It doesn't matter. Jalen Brunson at 8.6K is clearly a guy that I think I'm going to consider getting to. Karl Anthony Towns at center. They're going to need his size at 8.4K. So he's another guy that's in the conversation today. And then we got all that Josh Hart stuff, right? We don't officially have the Josh Hart news. Is that right, AP, or did I miss that maybe getting on there?
Oh,
I see questionable.
Yeah, questionable.
Okay. Yeah, we still have it. Okay, I skimmed through it and missed it. So he's still questionable. That's a really big piece. I know he was dealing with something with an ankle. If he plays, I think, you can always play him and OG. If he doesn't play, though, OG gets a really nice bump. He would be the guy that gets the biggest bump there. You could make a case that Miles McBride, they'll need him even more, even though they use him a lot already. So overall, this Josh Hart stuff, it's clearly a big piece of news. So AP, talk about how you're tackling this. Again, this is going to be 30 minutes after lock. We might not get it till right when the Pacers game locks. And that's another reason to kind of fade that first game if we really want to. So tell me about Josh Hart, though, because if he's out, it's clearly going to make some huge changes to how people build their lineups.
Yeah, I'm working under the assumption that he plays. He led the team on Friday, the 25th. He led his team in minutes. They got the weekend off, so a little slight extended rest. I don't know. It's Josh Hart. I'm going to assume he plays. I would be kind of thrown off if he didn't. The bump, OG's going to do what he does. If anything, I think it's just more opportunities for Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Miles McBride off the bench. Not a game that I love. I think there's some interesting pieces. I think everyone's priced pretty good. Jalen Brunson is interesting. Guards loaded, though. So he lands in that range, which maybe he just goes a little bit overlooked. So yeah, it's whereas like we're prioritizing guys from the Atlanta Hawks Wizards game. This game a little bit different for me. I'm not plugging anyone in first. If Brunson lands in one of my lineups, which I do have him in one of my main four, I'm going to be good with it. But he's not a guy that I'm looking to like get extremely overweight relative to the field. Not playing Bridges. Not even like too interested in Josh Hart or OG. It's mainly the usage guys, Karl-Anthony Towns and Brunson, because like those are the two guys that could break a slate. Like we have the mid-range and value elsewhere on the slate that I think is a little bit better. It's the Brunsons and Cats of the world that's like those are the studs that could really break a slate while also making me unique, mixing and matching them with plays from like the Hawks. So those are the two guys I'm looking at. And I don't think I'm on anyone for on the Cavs side of this game.
All right, DC. Knicks are clearly going to be a team that's in play. It seems like Hart will be in, at least is expected in, as long as nothing goes wrong in pregame warmup. So not going to give OG a boost, but I still think he's in play. And I think because all these guys play minutes, you just have to consider them on almost any slate, especially if you're playing tournaments. So Knicks are definitely in the conversation. Who are the guys that are sticking out to you, though, DC?
Yeah, we've seen the Knicks new kind of starting rotation for what, two games now. Towns struggled the first game, bounced back with a pretty nice game last time out. To me, my interest in the Knicks is largely dependent on Josh Hart. We know the Knicks guys are always going to play a lot of minutes. They're going to play a tight rotation. That's just what Thibodeau does. We know that from years and years of watching him coach. So if you take Hart out, you know, everybody gets a bump minutes-wise, projections-wise. At that point, I mean, I think Brunson, OG, Towns, Bridges, and McBride, I think all five of those guys become pretty good plays if Hart misses. Now, we do think Hart is more likely to play than not, which does reduce my interest in all those guys. But, yeah, Brunson and Towns. I'm with AP. I think those are the two guys that you want. And, yeah, it kind of remains to be seen how Towns does with this Knicks team. But, I mean, Towns got, 32? Like, he's going to play a ton of minutes. I know he's only played 24 and 32 through two games, both of which were blowouts, one against the Knicks, one's for them. So I think the Knicks projections are held down a little bit just because the minutes have been down due to game circumstance. So it does seem like a pretty good time to jump on the Knicks. Problem is Cleveland, obviously, very good defensively, not an easy matchup, but nevertheless, I'm with you. I think the Knicks make for some pretty good plays tonight.
Yeah, definitely good plays on the Knicks. And then let's get to the last game in that 7:30 window. It's Pistons and the Miami Heat. And, you know, I'm never a huge fan of playing Heat games, especially when it's a bum team against them, right? Like this Pistons team does not seem like one that you want to load up on. Do I want to play 9K, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duran at 6'9"? I know Jaden Ivey's been playing good basketball, but 6.4K, it just doesn't seem like it's it. Now, the Heat could definitely get there against the Pistons. I know Jimmy Butler, against, I think it was Charlotte the other night, broke the slate, had 55 on FanDuel. So, listen, Jimmy could have a massive game. We understand that. So could Bam. So could Hero. But I think you want a rule of not playing too many of these guys. If you use our partner Saberson, I doubt you'll get too many of them. But I just would be cautious about how many guys I play on this Heat side of the ball, just because I do think they eat into each other's usage a little bit. When you got Rozier, Hero, Bam, and Butler on just such a massive slate, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So, AP, are you playing anybody in this game, and are you setting any rules if you do so?
Yeah, so I was initially high, decently high on Nikola Jovic, 4,400. Now with Risa Shea becoming elite value, I'm moving off him. I think matchup-wise, Jimmy Butler would be the guy that I would have the most interest in. And I don't think it's going to take much to get overweight relative to the field. It was crazy. He looked highly motivated in the preseason. Like in the game against Atlanta, I mean, he went off. And then he got absolutely clamped by Orlando. Naturally, Orlando, such an elite defensive team. And then we kind of saw it again against Charlotte. So I do have a little interest in him. And if you're multi-entering, if you want to get different, I think he's kind of a piece that can get you a little bit different. And the builds that like I'm looking at it for is if you're trying to fade the Luka Doncic or like Nikola Jokic builds, the studs on this slate, I think it's a questionable route to go. But if you do and you want to go the mid-tier route where you're focused on maybe Trae Young as your top stud, a piece like Jimmy Butler in there or Jaylen Brown that we talked about from the Celtics, I think it's going to get you a little bit unique on this slate. So little interest in Jimmy, and I'm not on anyone on the Pistons side. I mean, Cade's been awesome. I just think it's the wrong slate for Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like the right Cade Cunningham slate. I'm with you on that. DC, you were shaking your head before about this game, so I'm sure you'll keep it short, but what's your thoughts on Heat and Pistons?
The Pistons, obviously, starting 0-3 already, right back where they left off last year. A team to avoid, I think, when they're healthy. You get, like, Sabres trying to tell me Tobias Harris is like a top value. Nah, I don't think so. Not Tobias Harris for me. I'll pass on him. I think Cade Cunningham the way to play the Pistons if you do want to go in that direction. But yeah, in Miami on the road, not a team that I'm excited to invest in. Miami side's more interesting. Obviously, they get the great matchup with the Pistons. And yeah, I mean, you see that big game from Jimmy Butler. Maybe he's ramping it up early this year. He is a guy we usually wait to play till later in the year. But coming off a super strong performance, I don't hate him. At 8K, Bam, Hero, all those guys are fine. I certainly prefer them to the Pistons side, but overall, hoping not to end up on too much of this game, barring unexpected news.
Yeah, I'm with you. Whenever if you faded the Pistons for most of the season, it probably works out, right? I'm not saying like obviously the Pistons play the Wizards or it's a shorter slate, sure, but on like the big ones, I think
when in doubt, find some other guys to play other than the Pistons. That's I think just a generally good idea.
Even when Marvin Bagley's chalk on the Pistons, right? Does it really work out enough? I don't know. So it's just worth mentioning.
Doesn't seem like it. No.
Doesn't feel like it. Let's move over to Memphis and Chicago. And we talked about Chicago a little bit earlier. And listen, they are playing fast in pace right now. Definitely going to be a spot where I think you got to consider this game, especially in tournaments. Nikola Vucevic, 8K. Definitely think he is a decent play. Our partner Saberson have him as the highest projected guy in this game. Ja Morant, I know he has that questionable tag, and it just came out still that like he's a game time decision. So like if he did miss, it's definitely going to be a massive thing. So that's something we're waiting on. Again, we got the update like 4 minutes ago. We got the hour and a half update. We're probably not getting another update for like another 40 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes. So we're not going to have this news by lock, I'm pretty sure. So that's going to be a big piece that we are waiting on. If he does miss, though, it'll clearly open up stuff for Bane. I mean, Pippen would be a really good play. I mean, there'd be so much stuff that opens up here on that side of the ball. AP, I'll shift it over to you, though, because Memphis and Chicago, it's a game we have to consider, even if Ja is in. So what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins doing kind of what he does, playing a deep rotation, managing minutes. You've seen it with Ja Morant right now. Can't really play him. Jaren Jackson getting back as well. It's just a lot of mouths to feed. And man, like if this was like a 3-game slate, it would be interesting because I would have a little bit of interest in Scottie Pippen and maybe Santi Aldama. Those two guys have been absolute studs off the bench for the Grizzlies. So it kind of makes sense that Jenkins is managing the minutes here for the studs. With that in mind, on this slate, I can't get there. We have many other better plays. I love the pace that the Bulls are playing at. If you haven't watched them play yet, definitely do it. They're literally sprinting up and down the court. I mean, it reminds me of like Steve Nash, Mike D'Antoni with the Suns, like when that team was playing back in the day. Just literally like 112 possessions per game is like what they're averaging. It's absolutely insane. But still, it's a tough spot. Like if you're playing one of these Bulls guys, use them as one-offs. Very similar to what I was saying about Jimmy Butler. A Zach LaVine could fit that role. So for me, with how I play, I'm not landing on any of these guys. But look, like Kobe White just nuked against Milwaukee. I mean, he went absolutely off. I think what you're going to see is every now and then one of these Bulls guys is going to nuke. And so it's like not a team you want to stack. It's a team you want to play pieces against, but we can't really do that with the Grizzlies right now. So overall, I'm pretty under on this game, but I'm excited to watch it.
Yep, should be an exciting one to watch. DC, I think in tournaments there's definitely plays you got to like. Listen, if they're going to run up and down the court, I mean, I'm not a big Zach LaVine guy, but he could definitely shoot the ball like absolutely crazy and get on fire. And if he does in a matchup like this, he could certainly be a tournament winner. And shooting guard isn't great today. So I do think overall, though, this is a game that we have to like. So what's your thoughts, DC?
Yeah, pace of this game should be good. As mentioned, LaVine, Kobe White, I think are good plays. Vucevic, a good way to go as well. I think those three, pretty clearly the three I'm most likely to play on Chicago. I don't really see going elsewhere. What do they have? Giddey is the next highest value. I don't think I'm going to get to Josh Giddey. So the main guys for the Bulls look good for me. I wouldn't play, I don't think, multiple of them together in the same lineup, but individually, yeah, I think you can go ahead and do that. And then Memphis, this game is, looks via the line that John Morant is going to play. We think John Morant is probably going to play, but you never know, right? In the NBA, when someone's listed questionable, there's always at least a decent chance that they end up sitting. And Memphis would become really, really interesting if John Morant sat out. I don't know where you guys stand, but I think Scottie Pippen, if we had the news right now that Morant was out, Pippen would be at or near the top of my list of guys to play. I think Smart and Bane would jump up pretty high. And then you've got obviously decent plays on the Chicago side as well. So, again, if Morant plays, I don't see a lot in this game that I think I really need to get to. But, honestly, most of my players are going to be in that Atlanta-Washington game. So I'm not sure I'll have the opportunity to swap to, a Bane or a Pippen if Morant is ruled out late. But I'll definitely be kicking myself if I don't have that chance, because I think Pippen would be an absolutely fantastic play. And AP, I know you kind of look at those numbers too. Like, he has a big, big role on this offense when he's out there. But unfortunately, it's mostly whenever John Morant is off the court, right? So he's kind of tough to play if Morant is in. But, man, the per minute stuff, the usage was awesome for Pippen. So he's certainly one that I'm keeping my eye on. We know Morant, even if he plays this game, he'll miss some time for sure eventually. So Pippen, definitely a guy to watch on Memphis.
So, hey, they're a deep team right now. Like, they love this Jay Huff guy. He's been awesome, but, it's a big slate. We can't get there. I'm just saying some of these guys, I would not be surprised if one of them kind of goes off. So maybe if you want to get, crazy different in the flagship, maybe include them, but I still struggle to get there. They're just a fun team to watch right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they just always go deep, right? That's the thing with their bench. They're always going to go super deep, and that just is what it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could just be they could have only 7 really good basketball players, and they're still going to go 10 to 11 deep, which is what they do. So, all right, let's get to Houston and San Antonio, which is definitely a game that we have to discuss. We talked about studs, and Şengün the other day had a massive game, so that was definitely a really big one that we saw. Wemby, we were waiting for him to have a huge blow-up game. I mean, he could definitely have a blow-up game here against Şengün, certainly. And the Rockets, Chris Paul, him in the pick and roll, will it get going here against the Rockets? That's going to be key because Wemby could have a huge game. And on, not DraftKings, but on FanDuel, the steals and blocks, right? Those matter a lot for someone like Wemby. We always like to talk about that. And, hey, it's good for DraftKings, too. He'll have that 10-block game at some point. I can't remember if he had one last year, but it's coming. He'll have one at some point. That's how insane he is, so he'll get himself the bonus. But it should be a good game. Spurs are at home. AP, what are you doing in this one?
Yeah, these teams just played, had an under on that game. We hit it. I don't bet many unders at this point in the season because most teams are running up down the court, not playing much defense. And the trend that you're seeing is teams are firing away, shooting a ton of threes. So naturally, we should get a lot of overs that hit. Not going to be the case tonight in the Rockets Spurs game. I like the under here, and look, like Wemby's being managed right now, so I get it. He could absolutely nuke in his 29, 30 minutes. We have more upside, in my opinion, with Jokic. Like the Nuggets need a win. So I can't play Wemby over Jokic. And then Luka Doncic he's been a machine. So I prefer those two studs over Wemby. Wemby's been getting ownership, like a decent amount of ownership too. So I'm just, fading him right now until I see him over 30 minutes. And he struggled historically in this matchup against Alperen Şengün. So it's hasn't been the easiest of matchups. So the other thing too is with the Spurs, like guys like Harrison Barnes, if they're going to be chalk or popular or Champagny or Shoham might be the exception there, but I don't like trust them at all. Like I saw Steven Castle was going to get some ownership early. Like I'm fading that all day, never trusting Pop. Like I'll let other people chase those type of plays. I'm not going to be on them. Shohan though is the one guy I do have like in one of my 3 main builds. I don't love it, but again, the price tag is just too cheap for the role that I've seen from him. Harrison Barnes, no way. Champagny, no way. And then I'm not playing any Rockets against the Spurs.
So my only sales pitch for the Castle thing, and again, I'm not saying I love playing him in this spot, but he's gotten minutes, 18 the first game, 27 against Houston. I just think shooting guard's not a great position, and for 4K, he's a cheap option you can get to. It's not that I think he's an amazing play. It's just I don't think shooting guard's a good position today. I think it's one of those spots that you kind of want to go down at and take some of the value. And of course, I get it. If you're playing the Hawks game, maybe you don't need the spend down value. But I think if you are spending down, he's one option to consider. DC, I'll go on over to you. What's your thoughts here on Spurs and Rockets?
Yeah, I did expect. I had to look up Steven Castle. I expected him to be a whitey, so a little more interest than I initially anticipated when I googled him.
Steve is going to be really upset with you. He was like the college basketball player, like you.
Oh, he appeals to the rookies, man. He loves it.
Steve is going to send you like all of his YouTube highlights in the DMs very soon now after that.
Yeah, well. He seems like an okay play at 4K. I like the value in Washington and Atlanta a little bit better, so I don't think I'll end up there. I get it. AP's points on Wemby. It's weird paying the 10K plus for a guy who just doesn't get the minutes as the other studs, but yeah, I still want to stay on the Wemby train. So I do have interest in him tonight, especially on FanDuel with the extra bonus for steals and blocks. Hasn't really gone off yet. Was fine against Houston, but I do think the huge games are coming for Wembanyama. For sure they are. So I'll try to stay higher on him than the field is in general. And I do think he'll have games where, he gets the 32, 33, 34 minutes. I think it's going to be a little bit hard to predict when those happen, but I do think they'll happen kind of randomly, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Wembanyama's minutes start ticking upward here. So he's my favorite play on the Spurs. Castle would be second. But, yeah, Champagny, Branham, Castle, Keldon, again, so many choices on a 9-game slate. I don't really want to trust the Spurs, so probably won't end up going to too many of those guys, and don't really see much of anything on Houston that's super interesting to me.
Yeah, and I will bring up one chat comment from earlier. That Dyson Daniels is the play at shooting guard. Yes, BG.
Yes,
but if you play like 50 lineups, I don't think you can just like lock them in there. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe that's what you want to do. I'm just stating it's the weakest position besides just play Dyson Daniels and move on, I guess.
The thing that's like I have a lot of you made a good point there, Mangone. So I had to look at my shooting guard specific ownership. For me, it's like basically one of 3 guys: Bilal Coulibaly, Dyson Daniels, or Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, I will say, like having the shooting guard tag added to it, like does add to his value for sure.
Yeah, when I was looking at the slate to start off the day, I was like, why the hell are we even considering Jamal Murray right now? Right? Like it doesn't seem like it's a great idea. And then the more I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, it's because of the shooting guard tag. Like this position is just not that good. So overall, that's the reason. But all right. Let's get to the last game. Then we'll get to your chat questions. Start firing questions into the chat. If you can hit that like too and subscribe, we'd appreciate it. So please do that for us. I'll get the questions after that. I got most of my stuff uploaded and everything. So, well, let's get to the Utah and Mavericks game. Luka is clearly a play. Another shooting guard that I do think actually is in play is Kyrie Irving. And it's just, hey, that's a cheap price tag for him. The problem with Kyrie is Kyrie's floor is super low. right? Like that's the only issue you have. The ceiling is really nice though for 7.5K. So like Kyrie and Luka, they're two studs that I definitely want to consider getting onto my teams. I mean, with all that Atlanta value, I don't love PJ Washington, like Lively. It just seems like there's guys that I don't need. And I do not want to play roulette with these Utah Jazz. I'm good. Like, I'll let other people figure out the Utah Jazz. Not really for me. AP, break this game down for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is so last year we had a ton of success just, running guys against this Jazz team. They play with pace. They don't play a lot of defense at all. If you look at the flow chart, you're often going to see players against the Jazz. I mean, two teams, Jazz and Wizards, and we get them both on the slate tonight, which is pretty nice. I honestly think there are multiple guys that are definitely in play here on the Mavericks side. Luka Doncic, obviously, I do think it's a good matchup for Kyrie because Kyrie, he's a raw scoring guy. He's not going to get you the peripheral stats. You need the raw scoring from him, and this is one of the best raw scoring matchups that he's going to get. It is a little bit tough, but as you said, Mangone, shooting guard is a tough position, and Kyrie Irving, you can play him at the shooting guard spot. I think PJ Washington is in play. He's getting the minutes. He just needs to make his shots. He's a low usage guy, but this is going to be a matchup where he's going to have some wide open threes. And talking about wide open threes, Klay Thompson, I think Klay Thompson is actually in play as well. He's getting big minutes. They're finding him. He's taking a ton of shots. He's going to have open looks. Double-digit three-pointers last two games, 3-point attempts last two games. So the opportunity for Klay Thompson is going to be there. Another guy that you can play in that shooting guard spot. And then it's, between the bigs, it's pick your choosing. I like Derek Lively coming off the bench. But again, when I look at my center exposure right now, it's a lot of Jokic up top or it's a lot of Larry Nance. And I actually like DC Sarkle. I have a few Sar and Risache builds as well, just to play those two guys against each other. So I'm not getting a lot of the centers here. But we've seen Lively put up big numbers in minimal minutes. But so if you want to go there, definitely you can. I just don't find myself getting too much Lively.
All right, DC, final game of the slate, and then we will get to your guys' questions in the chat. But talk about how you're handling the Mavs and and the Jazz.
Yeah, obviously Luka always in play. I think he's fine here. I probably won't get to him. Spending up on Trae Young and Kyle Kuzma. Who needs Luka when you got good old Kyle Kuzma in the early game? But yeah, Luka looks good. Kyrie's fine. I like the Klay Thompson call. I mean, he's gonna when you got Luka and Kyrie driving, to the basket and creating opportunities, like Thompson, he's gonna get some. He's probably gonna lead the league in 3-point attempts per game, right? And we know how hot he can get shooting the ball pretty well. I think he's interesting with the 3-point bonus and all that. Wouldn't go crazy with Mavericks. I don't think I'd play Luka and Kyrie together. Probably one or the other, whichever fits your lineup, I think is fine. And then Utah, main guy I'm looking at, Lauri Markkanen looks pretty good to me here. So he's my main interest on the Jazz. But, yeah, mostly studs for Dallas. Going to be the case most of the times when they've got those three guys healthy. There's just not very many shots to go around elsewhere. So give me the studs for Dallas for the most part. Klay Thompson, a good play. And then I don't mind Markkanen as kind of the last guy in as well.
All right, let's get to some questions here. AP, David Roddy for 3K. Any interest in him here?
I think the assumption that we're making is Larry Nance, but I mean, it could go one of two ways, and I got to look at updated projections. When you look at preseason play, I mean, David Roddy had a nice role. He had a couple nice games. He played yesterday though too, only 19 minutes, but he was fine. He's very efficient from the field, so 4 or 5 shooting. So yeah, we all assume it should be Larry Nance because he's the guy that I'm not going to say he's like a Okongwu, but his game is somewhat similar, just with how he plays.
AP,
it could be Roddy.
Are you at all worried about taking a 0 from Nance?
No, I think Nance has to play. Or else they're going to run a 7 or 8 man rotation.
I just get a little nervous when you know,
do I need to work Roddy in? I mean, it's a good point, but like, how do you not? Or it's Clint. Like, all right. So what sold me on Nance was your comments on Clint Capella. Like, why in the world would they play this guy 30 plus minutes? Like, I don't think he would even play back to back in 3 and 4 too. Like, yeah, it sets up to be the perfect Larry Nance spot. But again, we're all speculating. Who's the other big?
That's it, pretty much.
Muhammad something?
Yeah. I mean, it
has to be Larry Nance.
It should be Nance.
You got to read on Roddy, go Roddy, but I'm going Nance.
It makes me anytime you're like going to do a minor fist pump when they just check into the game for the first time, you know, like
dude, I have him in every single lineup, so I have Larry Nance a lot. So I'm in a rough spot if he doesn't play. Oh man.
I've seen stranger things happen in the NBA, though.
All right, Tim, play Roddy. I like Roddy, former Grizzly. Yeah, I don't know. I think Roddy's a fine play. Pivot off Larry Nance. A lot of us are speculating, so I don't know. What's your take, Mango? It's a good question. It really is.
Yeah, I just think it's unnecessary on the slate, but I get it. Like I get it. I just think it's too big of a slate. But yeah.
Mango doesn't want to take that Nance 0. He's going to leave it to me and you, AP.
Yeah, I'm not taking the 0. Are we taking the Garrison Matthews? Is anyone playing Garrison?
Wait, you're not playing Larry Nance?
No, I'm playing Nance. I'm not playing Roddy.
Oh, okay. I thought you weren't playing.
But Roddy played yesterday. Like I think he's going to get minutes too. Like
sure.
And he played in the preseason. I don't know.
I think they're both going to play. Yeah, I think they kind of have to.
Garrison Matthews is like a low usage guy that they don't give a ton of shots to. He made some shots in garbage time against OKC. Maybe if you hate shooting guard, you could play him. That's the case.
I'll also say this: I'm not playing as much DK. Like I'm playing cash on DK, and then I'm playing tournaments on the other site, and I don't need to play David Roddy over there. You guys can figure it out at 3K. And Steven, I'm on my 6th day in a row of shows, not 3rd. Disrespectful, 6th day in a row. But we're out here grinding for the people. Grizz will cook the Bulls tonight. We got people asking about Pritchard. AP, Peyton Pritchard. Talk about him.
Yeah, I just think it's not the right slate. I have Koulibaly over him, but I mean, his role is kind of nice. Matchup is decent. I mean, there's worse plays than Peyton Pritchard.
Sure. DC, 4 Hawks max. You have definitely. I saw you once put 5 Bulls in your core, so I figured I'd ask you this question.
Yeah, well, looking at my lineups right now, I do have teams with 4 Hawks in there. So no, 4 Hawks is totally fine. Absolutely, yes.
Right.
This scares the shit out of me. Our boy touched the court, and I mean, Nance, like, yeah, he's got to play.
I would assume.
I'll be closing the laptop.
Watch Capella go for 42 months.
There's other sports you can watch if that's the case, right? You can watch baseball. You can watch football. We got
my reasoning for like being high on Koulibaly, and I got a lot of them at the shooting guard spot, is they want him. He's known for his how good he is defensively, but they want him to be more aggressive offensively. We finally saw it. He took 16 shots against the Cavs, so that's what they want him to do. So this is like the perfect matchup for him to go off too. So I'm very, very bullish on Koulibaly on the slate because you get the defense upside, the opportunity for peripherals, and now hopefully scoring.
Do you guys like Reese's Shea more than Carrington? I assume.
Yeah, I don't think I'm playing any. I don't have a lot of Carrington. I don't think he's a terrible play, but
no.
I don't like the Hawks. They don't have as many dudes. I don't trust the Wizards rotation at all.
Yeah. We got Steve's burner in the chat. No, that's our guy, James, Mr. Az in the Discord. Castle was amazing at UConn, but just
there we go. This makes me feel better. So he wasn't active. He's active tonight though. So
we don't have
at least everyone's projected him to be.
Yeah. Let's see. AP, any interest in KCP tonight?
No. I'm fading the first game.
All right, fading the first game. Let's see what else here. We got the Nance and Roddy. We don't need that. The Max Hawks. We talked about that. let's see. Nothing else too crazy here. I did see someone ask about, do you play 3? Yeah, here it is. Would you play 20 max similar to how you play 3 max? I definitely play them a little bit differently. You still eat a little bit more chalk in 3 max, but I would just look for like 1 or 2, like, very small pivots, or maybe it's you're making like a big fade on something. But in kind of a 3 max format, I would just be playing like one contrarian like guy above like, I don't know, 5 or maybe like 6K. Someone above 6K that can like be a difference maker for you and actually break a slate. So that's how I would kind of handle it. I like Nembhard with a KCP run back. I don't love that, but I get it. Like, I just want to stay away from that game for the most part. Like, sure, if I play like a Banchero, spend up, like when I ran my stuff, I had some Banchero. I saw a little bit of Nembhard, but
here's the thing with Orlando. They are literally running everything through Franz Wagner, Paulo, which they should.
Yeah. And
then you see little bits of Wendell Carter Jr., Jalen Suggs, and then it's KCP. KCP's there for defense, and he's incredible. Like, I know the Nuggets miss him. They definitely miss him right now. That's one of the pieces that they're missing.
Yeah. All right. No other questions. We got 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left. So keep firing your questions in there. AP, give me your overall thoughts on the slate.
Yeah, how many Hawks is too many? I hope Larry Nance plays, and if he does, I think he crushes in this matchup. That's obviously the game I have the most interest in. So yeah, it's how many is too many? Which pieces? I will say, like, Jalen Johnson, get a few shares of him. I feel like he's the guy that probably goes a little overlooked, and he can easily break a slate too. And then the Mavericks too. You're going to see a few pieces from the Mavericks smash. I mean, we laugh, but dude, Klay Thompson, he's looked pretty good, and they're getting him open. Like, he's firing away. He's going to have all the opportunity in the world in this matchup tonight.
All right. Plays of the day someone asked for. I'll go first. I'm going with Wemby. Wemby's my guy. I'm playing him on the site where we get the stocks like crazy. So he's actually one of my highest owned plays over there. AP, I'll go to you next. Who's your play of the day? Jalen Johnson?
No, I'm going to say let's go with that Klay Thompson call. I kind of like it. A little outside of I didn't want to pick one of the chalky plays. So I think Klay just like goes completely overlooked. And I like the positional flexibility that you get with him.
All right, DC, give me your play of the day.
I'll be the bold person willing to take the 0. Larry Nance coming up gets the job done for us. And, if he's not in the game in about what?
How am I known as never mind. Sorry, DC. Even chat saying Jordan Poole for me.
Yeah, if he doesn't check in for Capella, when Capella checks out, then we might have a problem on our hands. But I think he will. And I think he could go absolutely off in this matchup for 3K. I think he's got clear like 30 fantasy point upside at 3K. Really, really hard to find those types of plays. So I'll risk the small risk, I guess, of a DNP with Larry Nance. But I do like him quite a bit tonight in all my lineups.
All right. Any final thoughts? DC, could give us anything last words, and then we'll get out of here.
Steelers captain tonight. I'm with you, Mangone, in your viral video. Going to own Daniel Jones and the Giants. There you go.
There you go. Yep. Steelers, just all the lines. Daniel Jones sucks, and move
the defense. The DST and showdown. Steelers. That's the winner.
DST, Captain DST for our guy DC. But thanks a lot for joining us here on the NBA Final Countdown Show. For me, Mangone, AP, and DC. We'll see you guys later.